Yeah, I think one thing that shaped me, even what I'm building now, is like leadership really matters. We talk about like productivity gains and like with AI, but if you think about it, like the biggest investment you can make is in people that drive the AI, right? Or whatever tools that you're. I think you need to have organizations where high percentage of your individual contributors report to a very mindful leader, right? Because let's say you have like 4 leaders and 75% report to like 3 leaders who aren't very mindful. And each of them are given like unlimited number of tokens that they can use. It's really a waste.
Welcome back to What Comes After. I'm your host, Jana Lee. Today's guest is a builder of products, systems, and companies in tech. From growing up across different countries in Asia before settling in the SF Bay Area, to co-founding startups in his early career, to spending nearly 6 years at Apple, rising from software engineer to leading engineering teams, his path is the full arc from scrappy founder to big tech leader and back again. Today, he's the founder of Serro AI, helping companies implement agentic TPM, and he's also the founder of xApple Community, an active Apple alumni group connecting members worldwide. Jake Kim, welcome to the show. So glad to have you. Who was Jake kind of earlier in your life?
Yeah, so as you know, I'm Korean, but I actually grew up in Kazakhstan. Our family moved there when I was 8 years old. Yeah, so I actually grew up speaking Russian in a post-Soviet Kazakhstan.
I didn't know that.
I guess I don't really get to talk about it as much as I want to. Kazakhstan was a very interesting place to be as a kid. When we first got there weren't that many cars even. It's like 1 or 2 hotels, right? But now it's a huge city, a lot of development. So yeah, interesting place to grow up. I think I remember like the first few months being kind of rough because, like we didn't have school yet. I didn't know the language. So everything was like just hand gestures and like, acting things out. So yeah, but then, luckily I was young enough to like pick up the language pretty quickly.
Amazing. So technically English is your third language.
It is my third language.
Wow. So Korean, Russian, and then English.
Yes.
Tell me more about what hobbies got you kind of excited.
Yeah, I think as a younger kid, I was really quiet and shy. But as I like got into my, high school years, I became very active. I was a part of like all the associations in our very tiny school of like 200, 300 people. So, I was a part of like the athletic association, like I was a school president, part of like every sports. But I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that there's not much to do in Kazakhstan outside of like school.
It made you focus.
It made you really focused, yeah. And I think it played a huge part in like developing me to the person I am. So I don't get bored very easily, which I think is a huge superpower of mine.
You said sports. Anything else that comes to mind?
Yeah, as a kid, it was just like a lot of reading, actually. I used to love reading, sports, just doing well in school. Yeah, I think I always had a goal of like trying to escape Kazakhstan. Because, I think I knew growing up that there weren't that many opportunities in Kazakhstan, like after graduating high school. So for me to like become successful, I had to go to US. So I think a lot of it was driven by, I had a few like sambae or older classmen who went to like really good schools in US, like who told me like, oh, hey, to go to US, you have to like take the SATs. And like that became my focus for, so yeah, that's how I kind of remember my high school.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you considering other countries?
I think it was US. Because also growing up, I had more like Kazakh friends than like Korean friends. So like Korean culture was kind of intimidating for me. So like I wasn't sure how I would do in Korea when I go back. So I was like, no, I have to go to like US or some other country.
Yeah. And I'm sure because you moved so young, I moved young myself as well, that you're probably adapting, and maybe that's part of the strengths of yours, right? That you were able to cultivate and lean into as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I think so. I do see like a lot of third culture kids taking a lot of pivots in their lives, not being afraid to like do something completely random. And I think that comes from like you're in a place where you're like so used to everyone thinking about life in a very different way, right? Because you have this like international school influence where like you have like these American, like European friends who like come in and have a certain way about living. And then you have like the Kazakh, like local perspective of like how life is. And like the, you know, from my family, right? Like the Korean perspective about how life is. And those perspectives would always clash, right? Growing up.
Yeah.
And I think that gives an immense kind of like ability to like see things from different perspectives.
And that resonates with me deeply too, because I don't know if you knew, but English is also my third language. So
Oh, is it?
was born in Korea, lived in Indonesia. So I spoke Bahasa for a little bit when I was younger.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
Yeah, I came to the States when I was 8 years old, but a lot of the things you're talking about resonates with me because I feel as though I belong in different places and not fully in any place in particular. I think now it's America for sure, but you know, there's pros and cons to being able to adapt, but also trying to understand like where do I want to be and who do I want to become ultimately. But yeah, so high school goes by, parents are on board with you maybe going to the US. How did you make the leap?
It was just like looked at school, like the best schools to go to, and then applied, got in. I came here, and I feel like, you know, back then I knew the opportunities it would open up. I'm really glad I came over to the US because what I'm really glad about is like who you surround yourself with. Like that kind of decides what kind of paths you can choose, right? So growing up in Kazakhstan, everyone I think was like a self-employed or, you know, not many like ways to succeed other than like starting a business or like inheriting wealth, which is big in Kazakhstan, right? But like coming here, like I came to Cal, like everyone's doing so many interesting things. So I think that really opened up like my horizons in terms of like what I can do, like all the possibilities.
Yeah. And culture shock. What were you most surprised by when you came to California and to UC Berkeley?
Kazakhstan is a Muslim country, although not everyone like strictly practices it. It's a Muslim country, so it's very conservative, and Cal is a very liberal university. So I think it was like a literal culture shock, right? Like coming here, like had to adapt to kind of the liberal ideas, which, you know, I don't think I was like opposed to those ideas. I was just like never really exposed to it on a day-to-day, right? I heard of these things, right? Like these ideas, but like integrated in life, integrated in society, how that looks like, I had no idea. But that didn't take like too long to get used to, because I think inherently I do feel like everyone has a choice on how they live their lives, right?
Yeah. And I forgot to ask you, who did you want to be when you grow up, when you were younger, and then by the time you hit college?
I don't think I really had a good idea. I just knew I wanted to be very, very successful.
Where did that come
you
from?
know, that came from my father. So he was a Olympic gold medalist in wrestling.
Wow.
In 1988.
Wow, amazing. Were you wrestling too?
I did judo in college.
Okay.
Yeah, because I didn't want to wear the tights or didn't have the confidence to wear the tights.
Just because of the uniform is different.
Exactly. I'm like, maybe something a little more
loose.
closed up. Yeah. So after wrestling, my dad, started a business and was very successful in business also. So growing up, I was like, hey, just higher bars, right? I wanted to also be very successful. I actually came here as an English major to UC Berkeley.
Yeah. Great.
Thinking I would become a lawyer after college.
Wow. Very different from now.
Very different from now, yeah.
And what about that experience do you think was additive to being an engineer?
Well, I think now people know, but context is really important, right? And I think like reading a lot, like studying literature, like that's all you really talk about, right? Like curating context, right? Like perspectives. And I think a lot of that impacted how I conduct myself in large organizations, but also like in what I'm ultimately like trying to build now.
Yeah. And I think there's sometimes not as much appreciation for arts and humanities in this tech ecosystem. And so it's always refreshing to know that you can come from different places and yet kind of stay here. And that's more of a strength than something that you're going to be shy around. Having that different perspective allows you to see things differently and for context setting too, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. To be honest, when I first made the transition, there was a lot of imposter syndrome, as you can imagine.
Yes.
But now I think it's more accepted. A lot of people are self-taught. Yeah, better environment to be in. And we've also seen, I think, as an industry, so many like uber successful people from humanities, like Alex Karp from Palantir, co-founder of Anthropic, I think is an English major. So way more normalized now.
Definitely. Did you have any aha moments in college where you're like, I don't think lawyer side is for me. I think I want to try something else?
Yeah, actually, it was during my internship. I picked up this book on brand marketing by David Aker, who is a professor at Berkeley, and a couple other books. I think one was Brand Washed. But that's when I learned a lot of thought goes into, packaging, copywriting these products, right? Like everyday products. I remember reading about Method, the company that does soap differently. Yeah, and I think since that point, I was I couldn't stop thinking about oh wow, there's so much thought that goes into building everything that's around us. And I think I got really fascinated. I started finding YouTube videos to watch from Stanford, that Stanford put up. And back then, a lot of the business videos were from the entrepreneurship side. So yeah, that's, I think, naturally carried me to build something and influence someone's decision through product. So I think it was a natural naturally drawn to that whole profession.
Yeah. And you could have started with marketing, you could have started with operations or any other kind of departments within tech, but engineering eventually. How did that come about?
Yes. So I think the first thing I did, after listening to a bunch of lectures was I wanted to start a company. So what I started doing is I started putting up flyers around the campus, trying to find a technical co-founder. I did find a technical co-founder, and it was just the two of us in a tiny bedroom. And I remember feeling very useless for the, for many, many months, because there wasn't really much to do other than come up with ideas, and he would do everything, right? So I felt I'm not pulling my weight. So I tried to take small things from him. Started out from, hey, can we change how this button looks, right? Then actually, you know what, let me try to do it. And it got deeper and deeper. And yeah, that's how I kind of picked up coding initially.
Wow. So just naturally, as you were having a co-founder, you're you know what, I should see if I can also help out in this arena.
Yes, I should contribute more. Yeah.
Well, on the business side, there's so many things to do, but I understand that you were also curious about the technical.
No, that's a good point though. And I think it's because a part of it was because I wasn't technical, I didn't give enough credit to the non-technical side of, startups. Because I think I had that kind of like a little bit of an insecurity being in a technical startup as a non-technical co-founder. So I didn't really think, like there's so much thought that goes into like product positioning, like coming up with ideas. But because all of that kind of like was iterative in my head, right? Or like it changes like tiny bits here and there. I remember looking at that job and being like, that's not really a job. That's like me not being decisive. So yeah.
Yeah. And you were kind of swirling in your head, and maybe there could have been a helpful, maybe person next to you that could have validated or said something. But at that time, it was just you two.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that has a lot to do with pride. I should have reached out to people more at that time. That would have saved me at least 5 years, in my opinion, if not more. Yeah.
And 5 years, and you were running a business at the time for 5 years.
Multiple startups. We tried.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the first one?
The first one was called Like Gene. So it was like a social app where you kind of vote on your preferences of like Mac versus PC, or, and all the choices you make up your DNA, right, as a person. And then you get matched to other people who share kind of that gene. So kind of like we're trying to like figure out like the machine learning kind of like data science, right?
What makes someone connect, what makes people get along and find their tribe. And how long was that before moving on to the next startup?
That was very quick. I think that was only like three months or so. We quickly learned how, yes, the data of like people's preferences could be valuable, but people are not that interested in like sitting in front of their computer, like choosing like one brand over another. So we pivoted to like a recipe app where instead of like it being you having to choose, we look at like what's in your fridge, right? Like the choices you've already made, and then try to like come up with all the recipes you can cook from it. There's actually a Korean show now, 냉장고를 부탁해, which is basically recipes you can cook up from what you already have.
I think it's on Netflix.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a good show.
Great. So you were ahead of time. You were more than a decade ahead of time. It's making smarter decisions that you wouldn't have come up with just by yourself.
Like hidden connections.
And how long did that take?
That took a while. We pivoted it to something else called Pop Shuttle, which is a Asian grocery delivery service. And this was like in 2011. So we built Recipe. I think it was like 6 months. And back then, like OCR wasn't so good. OCR is like, now you can like take pictures of your receipts and like it can figure out like what you got. That technology wasn't so good yet. Of course, it didn't have like image recognition, right? Like right now.
Sure.
So we're like, okay, like what is the next best thing? We like reached out to like people who invented the RFID, where like, could there be a future where like every product comes with an RFID instead of a barcode? The inventor of RFID was like, no, that's never going to come true because like, first principles, it's never going to get that cheap. We're like, okay, well, we got to find some smart way to like figure out what's in the users' fridges. And that was, oh, hey, like if we helped deliver the groceries, like we'll know exactly what's in their fridge.
Yes, it's all itemized.
Yeah. And, like back then at Cal, there's a lot of Asian students, but Asian stores would be like 20, 30 minutes away by car. So we're like, yeah, let's do that. So we like started taking orders online for Pop Shuttle. And that was more successful, depending on how you define success. But yeah, we got like the first order within like 30 minutes of posting it on Facebook. And
wow.
People wanted it from like San Francisco for like double the price. We had like repeat customers and yeah.
Amazing. And was this all kind of bootstrapped? How are you sustaining?
Yeah, it was like fully bootstrapped. we made a little bit of money from like the deliveries, but not enough. But also, I was very lucky because I made very early investment in crypto.
Nice.
And so that was kind of like letting me stay afloat
Great.
a little bit.
Great. So you're making do, you're making sure, the money's going where it needs to go. And then what happens in a few years?
I think in a few years, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. We're not seeing, like the startup growth, right? My co-founder has to go to Korea to, go to the army. At that point, I'm like kind of living off of like the crypto investment that I made, which isn't bad, but I think I kind of like lost purpose.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like I had like a year or two of like trying to figure out what the next thing is, trying to do like project after project. And ultimately, I think I decided, hey, I've been doing it wrong for like, it's been like 5-6 years now. I am not going to figure it out on my own. I need to go work for like a really, really large company and see what that's like. So I think, at that point, I was like starting to apply to companies and got a gig at Apple. And that was a whole nother chapter.
Yeah.
From there.
And so before we go from being a founder for many years to an engineering manager eventually at Apple, it takes so much courage, Jake, for you to iterate on so many different project ideas and to sustain yourself for, is it 5 to 6 years out of college?
5 to 6 years.
That's a long time for you to hold on to the different ideas, the different dreams. What kept you going?
Yeah, well, I think we were seeing incrementally more success, right? Like all the way to like Bob Shuttle, I was actually still in college, right? Even though like it was like really difficult like to pivot, but Bob Shuttle, we like started making a little bit of revenue, like, for what it's worth. So we're like, hey, like we have customers now, right? And customers loved us, right? Because they could order like their favorite Korean snacks, right?
They're super fans.
Like, yeah, and they would like order like 3-4 times a week. After that, actually, there was another startup. After my co-founder left, I found another like serial founder. We started a company together called Cashew Pay. It was like a gas station mobile application. So like you can pay with your phone, right? In my head, at least, I was making progress. I was like learning stuff, right? Like what actually got people interested, like how to like set up incentives. What I learned initially was you can't just like start collecting data, right? Like you need to incentivize the users, right? And then in Recipe and Pop Shuttle, I learned you can have like the best idea, but like sometimes you can be like way too early in technology.
Yes.
And like technology might never get to the point where you envision it in time. Only now, right? Like after like decades, or 15 years or so, like that technology is available, right? And I think at Cashew Pay, what I learned is B2C and B2B are completely different. It made sense because like going from B2C, like, hey, like they want delivery. So like you charge them money, right? To get what we want, which is like data about what's in their fridge. But when we get into gas stations, we were targeting the people who would want to get the 10 to 20 cent discount per gallon, right? By paying cash. So we wanted to target that, which is a good idea. But what we didn't know at the time was Chevron, Shell, like these are very slow moving companies.
They are.
Right? Yeah. I think even now, like I'm just like learning how to do B2B sales, but like me, when I was 22, I had no idea what I was doing. And I didn't think and this is like the part about, coaching and like pride. I think back then I didn't know I had to like go out and learn from people who've done it before.
And get support.
Right.
Wow, amazing. What year was this? Because fun fact, one of the last projects that I worked on at Apple was Apple Pay Pre. So I was part of the finance and strategy team, forecasting the adoption rate of Apple Pay in different regions of the world for the next 5 years after launch. And so there was a lot of work in understanding how, fintech works in general and who all the players are. Talk about B2B, there are a lot of different players and who gets what cut within that model. But I'm assuming it was pretty early.
It was very early. It was like 2013.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Jake, you are a visionary in a lot of ways, seeing kind of trends to come, but maybe catching the trend a little too early because there's a little bit of a gap of technology exists, but is the market ready?
Yeah, thank you for seeing it that way. Yeah, it was a great character building time for sure. I learned how to code really well during those years.
Good.
I wouldn't trade it for anything else.
Amazing. And so, you put your best out there for a few years after college and you're like, you know what? Maybe I want to learn more technical skill set in a bigger setting. And so you enter Apple. I think you're there close to 6 years as well.
Mm-hmm.
How is that process?
Actually, I failed the first interview. So it was like an interview with like everyone and the hiring manager. The manager walked out because like I completely fumbled on like the jargon, right? Because I learned everything by myself, so like I didn't know like what the stuff I'm doing is called.
Terms.
So I was like fumbling, but then after he left, they asked the question like to like code on the whiteboard, and I did that really well. And the interviewers, I think, went back and told the manager, hey, like he's actually really good at coding. He just like doesn't know. I didn't know what an IDE was, which is like the application that opens the coding.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're like, oh, what IDE do you use? I'm like, like, what do you mean IDE? Right. So yeah, so I felt really lucky that I got to work for Apple. I landed in the iCloud team, and we got to work on like machine learning platform, and like I had a lot to prove. I first joined as a contractor, so I was like almost like sleepless nights, right? Like just like coding. I quickly became a very like productive player, lucrative player in the team. And we like our product did really well. Some other organizations saw it from one of the events, right, internal events, and they kind of like scouted our team, and I became a full-time from there. Yeah.
I love that you were transparent about what it took to get there, but with tenacity and your just kind of hustle and making sure that you're learning new languages, you're learning different areas. And for you to get to that place, it took a lot of hard work.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, yes, it wasn't like fun being there, but like also at the same time, I love learning new stuff.
Yeah.
I really love building. The machine learning platform that we built in iCloud did really well. It was kind of like a big ceremonial thing where multiple organizations wanted to kind of onboard to it. So we had to like give like company-wide demos. And the iPhone ops team back then, they had a lot of machine learning needs. So they wanted to build something similar. They brought me and one more person as full-time, and I got to lead like few very successful data platforms. And yeah, I think from there it was, I had a massive growth. I had a great mentor, Manish, that he like helped me grow. I went from like being an individual contributor to having two pretty large teams.
Yeah.
In the matter of 2 years.
Wow. That's really fast growth. And I'm sure it helped to have someone see the potential in you too, in that journey.
Yeah. I owe it to Manish, I think. I think one thing that shaped me, like what I'm building now is like leadership really matters. We talk about like productivity gains and like with AI, but if you think about it, like the biggest investment you can make is in people. That drive the AI, right? Or whatever tools that you're. I think you need to have organizations where high percentage of your individual contributors report to a very mindful leader, right? Because let's say you have like 4 leaders and 75% report to like 3 leaders who aren't very mindful, and each of them are given like unlimited number of tokens that they can use. It's really a waste. And I think, Apple does this really well. Apple has Apple University, and all the managers have to go through this, training on how to be a better leader. And yeah, I think I'm grateful I was like luckily placed under Manish, who was this like really humble, deeply, deeply technical, humble guy who listens to people around him, and like just get stuff done, right? Like in the org.
Yeah.
Yeah, not everyone is as lucky.
Oh, what a great shout out for your mentor. And I do want to say, Jake, too, that anything that you appreciate in someone, you have those qualities as well. So that's also really nice to see that you're able to see him. And in that way, you see yourself too.
Yeah, I think I try to be like him. I fall very short. Yeah.
Definitely humility runs in the mentorship to mentee.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you're really making a mark at Apple. What was a moment where you're like, you know what? I think I might be interested in wearing the entrepreneurship hat again, even though it's going to be a very different chapter.
Yeah. So I was experiencing really fast growth at Apple. My teams were growing, given more responsibility, more visibility within the organization. The project I led became like a central project in the ops organization. We built something that, reinvented how data was collected, all the manufacturing programs in Apple, which is a huge deal. And it ended up saving Apple like hundreds of millions of dollars at the time. And I was like, hey, like this is it, right? Like I'm very happy with what I was able to accomplish in Apple, like given like my tenure and like where I was in. So I was in a good place to like kind of look ahead in like, hey, like maybe at this rate, I'll be right X in like 5 years, right? Or Y in like 10 years.
Climbing the ladder.
Right. Climbing the ladder. And that was exciting to me, but I think I always had that kind of, like I didn't really get to prove myself fully as an entrepreneur. My father's an entrepreneur. Growing up, everyone successful was either like they inherited money or was an entrepreneur. So I felt like, hey, like given the support, given the backing of a company, given the resources, I was able to excel, right? Back then, I didn't have the kind of credentials, like as a 1-year-old English major, like with no work experience saying, hey, like I'm going to change how like people pay at gas stations, right? Going to work with Shell and Chevron. So I felt like I had a lot of like these things built now where I could like go back and give it another try, like fair shot. And like still like having built enough like reputation internally, like if I wanted to go back, I'd have like people who like, like would at least like recommend me for an interview, right?
Of course.
So yeah, so that's why I decided to give it another shot.
Great. And it takes courage. Did you have people around you that were supportive? Were they kind of saying, hey, Jake, are you sure you want to do this? How were you kind of received, I guess?
Yeah, so very supportive. I actually did a part-time master's degree at Columbia while, still working for Apple.
Great.
I met my wife right before I quit Apple. And I told her, I'm like, and before I proposed to her, I was like, hey, like we're going to go from like being able to like afford trips and stuff to like kind of not being able to afford any of that. Right. And she was extremely supportive. She knew like what she was getting into. So, like after we got married, I quit Apple. But she's been an angel, to be honest.
Oh, amazing. So you had support personally, but also professionally through your master's degree. And here you are. And do you want to talk a little bit about your startup today?
Sure. I'll be very brief about it. We help companies implement agentic TPM to make sure their engineering organizations can move as fast as they can with AI without bloating their middle management.
And how long have you been working on this project for?
I think it's been a little over 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
How's it feeling?
It's good. We have amazing early customers who are very, very supportive, who are willing to kind of work through all the bugs that that we've had them experience, unfortunately, but these early customers are like visionaries, right? They see the product in sometimes even, like more in depth than you do, right? And they kind of like try to guide you with their feedback.
Yeah.
Right. And I think they do it very subtly. So just being able to work with customers who you respect, who, you want to serve, and who have an idea of like what the product needs to be, and are like willing to sit through all the bugs and like give you subtle hints to wait for you to get there is a blessing. Yeah, so we have that, and also like the support of like the xApple community has been really incredible. Our first, design partners, first customers mostly come from xApple community.
Amazing. What is xApple community?
So xApple community is a young community of 400 plus xApple founders. It's a grassroots community of founders who are helping each other. The motto is to become each other's unfair advantage in the market. It's also like a network of super allies of 50 plus VCs, and now we're expanding it to not just founders, but like leaders of xApple all around the world. So it's going to become a lot bigger because there's a lot more leaders than founders in the world.
Sure.
And yeah, we just think we want to build like a positive sum community where we can help each other succeed.
Amazing. So those are your two babies at the moment. One is Serro. You're a founder and a CEO of a startup, and then you also are a founder of this community.
Right. Yeah, those are the two babies. But, I did start the community, but like I don't call myself a founder. I hesitate to call myself a founder, to be honest. But in the literal sense, I'm a founder. But it's a very community-driven effort. Like we have people who like do the reach outs to VCs, right? Like spread awareness. There's a founder who's doing the reach outs to like all the engineering leaders, right? Like those stuff I wouldn't have been able to do by myself, right? Yeah. It's a very community-driven thing, which I'm really proud of. And I'm not just being humble. I'm just pointing out the differentiator, like of xApple versus like other communities. It's a very grassroots thing.
Yes. Yeah. And so what a wonderful way for you to find that camaraderie and that community, in addition to you going back into that entrepreneurial journey that you have ahead of you. I guess for people who've gone through similar journeys and they're at a precipice of a big jump. So whether that be, maybe you're talking to another engineering manager at another company and they're like, should I start this or should I not start this? Or maybe someone that's saying, hey, I've done my stint here as a founder. Maybe I want to find something within a bigger company to learn additional. Anyone within that kind of pivot moment, what would you kind of give as a parting advice?
First of all, don't just become a founder to be a founder. I think you still need to have like a deep conviction about what you're about to do and care deeply about the problem you're trying to solve. Otherwise, you get burnt out. If you just quit just to become a founder without an idea, you might land on an idea that you don't really care about. And when you get to like, first signs of like fit, you might have spent like a year or two and realize, hey, like actually, this isn't what I'm passionate about. So that's like one mistake to avoid. But if you have a very deep conviction about a thesis, talk to other founders before you take the leap, get coaching from someone like Janet, and then do it. I don't regret it, especially if you have like support of your family. Yeah, it's rewarding to pave your own path, to, create something out of nothing and to kind of grow it with other founders who are trying to do the same thing. So I guess like if I had to give one advice, it would be meet other founders in your stage, like as many as possible, and try to help them. And I think in that journey, you'll learn so much about also what you have to do, but also you'll meet like friends, right, who are trying to help you in their spare time.
Sure.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's a very valuable advice because oftentimes you imagine entrepreneurship as such a lonely experience.
Hmm.
And what you're describing right now is saying, hey, actually, that's contrary to belief. There's other paths for you to experience what entrepreneurship is. And through finding your people and your community, you're able to actually understand and accelerate.
Hmm.
What also I found really, really inspiring and helpful in our talk, Jake, is your deep sense of curiosity. I feel like whether it be 8-year-old Jake to 22-year-old Jake and beyond, I think that drive around curiosity and trying to figure something out has been kind of a through line in your story. And I think that's a really important thing to point out. And to also notice how many languages, whether that be literal languages like Russian, English, Korean, all the way to, even technical languages, coding languages, maybe even switching up languages between what being a founder is like versus being in a bigger company. But it's that kind of adaptability and picking up different languages throughout your journey is kind of keeping you where you're at today. And I'm sure there's many more languages that you're going to learn to come. So thank you so much for, sharing your story.
Thank you so much. That's a very beautiful way to think about my life. So thank you for that gift. And thank you for inviting me and giving me a chance to speak about my upbringing and myself.